You think alcohol reveals the real you, loosens you up, makes you more fun, more honest, more social. But the science says something far more disturbing. Alcohol isn't revealing your true personality. It's systematically destroying it. And the worst part? The changes don't stop when you sober up. Every single drinking session is physically restructuring the organ that controls who you are, and most people have no idea it's happening. By the time you finish this video, you'll understand exactly how alcohol rewires your brain, degrades your emotional intelligence, and quietly turns you into someone you were never supposed to become. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The alcohol industry has pulled off what might be the greatest marketing trick in history. They sell a depressant as a party drug. Think about that for a second. Alcohol is chemically classified as a central nervous system depressant. It slows everything down. It sedates you. And yet somehow, through decades of strategic advertising, cultural conditioning, and billions of dollars in marketing spend, they've convinced the entire world that this sedative is the key to having a good time. That's not an accident. That's engineering. Most drinkers believe something that sounds completely reasonable on the surface. They believe alcohol reveals their true self. The more relaxed version, the more confident version. The one who talks to strangers, tells better stories, laughs louder. This belief is so deeply embedded that it feels like personal experience, not marketing. But here's the question nobody asks. If alcohol is changing your brain chemistry every single time you drink, can the person it creates actually be called you? And very quickly, if you want instant access to a brand new video training that I've just finished showing you how to control alcohol in as little as 48 hours, then click the link in the description. This new method is not about using willpower therapy or AA meetings. It's totally different. I do not publish this video anywhere else online, and it's already changing thousands of lives. So click the link below for instant access. Once you're on the next page, enter your name and email address, and your free training will begin. It takes just 7 minutes to watch, but it'll feel like somebody flicks a switch in your brain. And honestly, I'm not sure when I'll start charging for this 7-minute video training. That's how good it is. But whilst it's still available, click the link below, enter your name and email address, and watch that video now. If a drug is suppressing certain neurotransmitters, flooding others, and literally altering the structure of your prefrontal cortex, the personality that emerges under those conditions isn't your personality. It's a chemical byproduct, and that distinction changes everything. Here's where it gets really interesting, because the chemistry behind this is not subtle. Among its many effects on the brain, alcohol increases the activity of a neurotransmitter called GABA, which functions as the braking system of your entire nervous system. More GABA means more inhibition. Things slow down. You feel sedated, calm, unbothered. At the same time, alcohol suppresses glutamate, your brain's major excitatory transmitter. So now you've got stronger brakes and a weaker gas pedal. That's why the first few drinks feel like relief. That warm, soft feeling where the edges of the world blur and everything seems fine. That's not relaxation. That's your brain being chemically sedated. But alcohol isn't done. While it's pumping the brakes on your nervous system, it's simultaneously triggering an artificial spike in dopamine, the neurotransmitter linked to pleasure, reward, and motivation. This is the part that feels good. This is the part your brain remembers. And this is the part that sets the trap. Because here's what happens when the alcohol wears off. GABA crashes, glutamate surges, dopamine is depleted. Your brain is left in a state of chemical anxiety and low mood that can last anywhere from 24 to 72 hours after your last drink. This isn't a hangover. This isn't weakness. This is your brain's architecture being temporarily restructured every single time you take a drink. Now, most people hear that and think it sounds bad, but recoverable. A rough morning, some brain fog, then back to normal. But that's not even the worst part, because if you're drinking regularly, your brain never fully gets back to normal. It's constantly adapting to the presence of this drug, and those adaptations don't just affect how you feel, they change who you are. Here's the truth that the alcohol industry doesn't want you to know. Prolonged alcohol use measurably degrades processing speed, attention, visuospatial ability, and verbal skills. These aren't abstract cognitive metrics buried in research papers. These are the core components of social and cognitive intelligence. The things that make you sharp in conversation, the things that make you good at your job, the things that make you present with the people you love. Alcohol chips away at all of them, quietly, gradually. And most drinkers never connect the dots because the decline is so slow it just feels like aging. But it gets worse. And this is the part that genuinely disturbs me about the research. Regular drinkers show a significantly reduced ability to read facial expressions, vocal tone, and body language. That means alcohol makes you genuinely worse at understanding other people. You lose the ability to decode the emotional signals that human connection depends on. Your wife's frustration that you used to pick up on instantly, you miss it now. Your kid's sadness that used to stop you in your tracks, it barely registers. Not because you don't care, but because the drug has degraded the neural circuits that allow you to perceive those signals in the first place. And here's where it gets clinical. Heavy drinkers develop something called alexithymia at elevated rates. Scientists use this term to describe a condition where a person struggles to identify, differentiate, and express their own emotion. You can't name what you're feeling. You can't tell the difference between anger and sadness, between anxiety and excitement. Everything just becomes a kind of emotional blur. The capacity for empathy and perspective taking is progressively compromised alongside it. Alcohol doesn't just change how you act at a party, it changes how you are able to relate to other human beings. It rewires the machinery of emotional connection itself. And the longer you drink, the more damage accumulates. Think about what that means for your relationships, for your marriage, for your kids. The person sitting across the dinner table from your family might look like you, sound like you, have your memories and your name. But the emotional architecture underneath has been quietly altered by a neurotoxin. You're running on degraded hardware and blaming the software. That's the trap. Now, let's talk about why this damage compounds over time, because this is the mechanism that turns casual drinking into something much darker. When your brain is repeatedly flooded with artificial dopamine from alcohol, it does something perfectly logical from a survival standpoint. It reduces its own natural production. Your brain essentially says, I don't need to make this chemical anymore because it keeps getting delivered from the outside. So your baseline mood without alcohol drops. Lower after every drinking session, lower every week, lower every month. The drinker then needs alcohol just to return to what feels like a normal emotional state. But that normal keeps shifting downward. You're not drinking to feel good anymore. You're drinking to stop feeling bad. And the distance between sober misery and drunk relief gets shorter and shorter until drinking barely works at all. That's the cycle. Drink to feel okay. Feel worse when it wears off. Drink again to get back to baseline. But baseline keeps dropping, and you keep chasing it. Meanwhile, your brain has adapted to being constantly sedated. It pushed its own gas pedal down because you kept slamming on the brakes. GABA production has been suppressed. Glutamate production has been ramped up. Your nervous system is running hot all the time, trying to compensate for the depressant you keep pouring into it. So when the alcohol is removed, even for a few hours, your brain is left dangerously over-revved. That's where the withdrawal anxiety comes from, the restlessness, the racing thoughts at 3 in the morning, the feeling that something is wrong, but you can't name what. And here's the most devastating part of this entire cycle. Most drinkers interpret this chemically induced low mood and anxiety as their natural personality. They genuinely believe they are anxious people. They believe they are depressive people. They believe they need alcohol to cope because without it, they feel terrible. But the terrible feeling is the alcohol. The anxiety is the alcohol. The low mood, the emotional numbness, the inability to feel joy in normal activities, the flatness that makes everything feel gray and pointless, that's not you. That's the drug talking. And the drug has convinced you it's the cure for the disease it created. But what happens when people actually stop? This is where the science goes from disturbing to genuinely hopeful. Because the brain is remarkably good at repairing itself once you remove the interference. The risk of depression drops measurably within 30 days of removing alcohol. 30 days. That dark cloud that so many drinkers attribute to their personality, to their childhood, to their life circumstances, it often turns out to be nothing more than the chemical exhaust of the drug itself. The anxiety loops stop spinning. The doom lifts. The anxiety and intrusive thoughts that drinkers normalized as just how I am frequently resolve within weeks. Not through years of therapy, not through medication, through the simple removal of a depressant that was causing the depression. When you remove the depressant, you stop being depressed. That's not a motivational statement, it's biology. Your brain's GABA and glutamate systems begin to recalibrate. Natural dopamine production starts to recover. Emotional regulation returns, slowly at first, then faster than most people expect. Emotions that alcohol had been chemically suppressing or distorting for years start to come back online. You feel things again. Real things. Not the manufactured high of a dopamine spike followed by a crash, but actual sustained contentment, actual joy, actual presence with the people around you. Your ability to read facial expressions improves. Your empathy comes back. Your verbal skills sharpen. The fog lifts, and the person underneath it, the person who was there all along, finally gets to exist without chemical interference. This is not willpower or mindset. This is not about being strong enough to resist temptation. This is biology correcting itself once the interference is removed. Your brain was always capable of regulating your emotions, producing its own dopamine, maintaining its own equilibrium. It just couldn't do any of those things while you kept flooding it with a neurotoxin. The moment you stop, the repair begins. And the personality you thought was yours, the anxious one, the flat one, the one who couldn't connect, turns out to be a chemical artifact, not the real you, the poisoned you. Alcohol doesn't care about your personality. It doesn't care if you're disciplined or impulsive, introverted or extroverted, risk-averse or thrill-seeking. Ethanol is chemically addictive. It changes GABA, glutamate, and dopamine systems the same way in every brain it touches. You can't put that down to a personality trait. That's biochemistry. And once you understand the biochemistry, the illusion breaks apart completely. The person alcohol turned you into was never the real you. And the real you is still in there, waiting for the drug to get out of the way. Now that you understand what alcohol actually does to your personality and your brain chemistry, the next question is obvious. What happens inside your body and mind when you stop? Not vague promises. The actual day-by-day changes in brain function, mood, sleep, and physical health that most people never get told about. If any part of this video made you uncomfortable, if something in here made you question your relationship with alcohol, that discomfort is worth following. Click the video on the screen right now to see the full 90-day alcohol recovery timeline and find out exactly what your brain and body are capable of once the poison is removed.